There's a reason Dillon Gabriel is the forgotten man in the Browns quarterback room, and I'll tell you why. Coming up next on the Locked On Browns podcast.
You are Locked On Browns, your daily Cleveland Browns podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's up, Dog Pound? I'm Spencer German, your host of the Locked On Browns podcast, and proudly covering the Cleveland Browns each and every single day in the land and on the road. What does the future hold for Dillon Gabriel? Plus, the Browns keep trying to slip his name into the convo. I just think at this point we know the score. Let's talk about it here on the Locked On Browns podcast, because here's the thing. I do think when it comes to Dillon Gabriel that he has become the forgotten man in the group. Every time we talk about the quarterback situation, every time we talk, frankly, about the open competition that the Browns keep framing it as being this offseason, the only names that we really talk about are Shedeur Sanders and Deshaun Watson. And I think there's a legitimate reason for that. I understand and appreciate that the Browns are trying to sell the idea that Gabriel has a chance in this thing and that he's going to be part of the competition. But the thing for me is we have tangible evidence that of the two rookies on this team this past year, Shedeur was the better one. He brought more juice to the offense. He did more with the offense that had very limited resources already, and that certainly is an excuse for Dillon the same way that is an excuse for Shedeur. But it was about the fact that Shedeur did more with less than what Dillon did. You know what I mean? Like Dillon had the exact same setup in terms of receivers, offensive line, injuries to certain position groups, and all those things, and Shedeur did more with it than he could. I think that's telling. When a quarterback raises the level of play for an entire unit, for an entire team, that stands out. And so I have a hard time believing at this point that even though they tried to tell us throughout much of last season that Dillon Gabriel was ahead of Shedeur Sanders, that he is ahead of Shedeur Sanders in this competition going into this year. There's people still holding out hope that Deshaun can bring something to the table. I think that ship has sailed. And I just don't know, though, where Dillon fits into the equation when it comes to this competition, and we'll get to what his future probably holds moving forward. But like, if the Browns are going to add another quarterback, what does that mean for him? Because I do believe that still is coming, whether it's through the draft. I know earlier today I talked about Ty Simpson being somebody that they do seem legitimately interested in. It's just a matter of how interested and if they're upselling how interested they are. But I do think they're adding a quarterback in some capacity, whether it's through the draft, whether it's a veteran free agent, another veteran to this room. And that's going to be a guy that Todd Monken sort of handpicks. What does that mean for Dillon? He just doesn't fit the timeline for this team. He doesn't fit the group as a whole. He doesn't even really fit the skill set that I think Todd Monken wants in a quarterback, frankly. Like, we talked about Dillon maybe being able to move a little bit more than Shedeur did coming into the league, but I think on the field that proved to be the opposite. Shedeur proved that he can move just fine. He can make some plays with his legs. No, he's not the fastest guy, but you saw that there was tangible evidence that he can navigate the pocket and escape when needed. And that's even something that Travis Schweitzer talked about in his introductory press conference, that Shedeur is mobile enough. Dillon was more of a statue back there, couldn't really see the field in certain instances. Like, there was just not as much to be desired from that position. And I do think that's important context and information as far as the quarterback room and as it stands right now is concerned. I just don't know if he has a legitimate shot at winning this job. They'll frame it that way and they'll say he's going to get a chance. But Tom Monken's also said, like, they want to have an answer before training camp. There's not going to be training camp reps being divvied up between these guys. It's going to be who's there when well, I mean, there could be, because he did say if it goes that long, it does. But I think there's proof in the pudding that Tom Monken wants to, because he said it, be able to use most of those training camp reps knowing who the starter is and divvy him up that way. And so I think Dillon sort of fades in the background in that regard. So yes, in a lot of ways, he is the forgotten man in this group, but I think there's legitimate reasons for that. And most of it stems from his play on the field, what he brought to the table, what he showcased in his 7 games that he played versus what Shedeur showcased in his 7 games. And if the Browns do want to give Deshaun Watson any sort of opportunity to sort of redeem himself and revive his career, it just doesn't feel like he fits the picture. And frankly, we know at this point that that was kind of a Kevin Stefanski pick. So I just think when push comes to shove, he's the odd man out. And that's why I don't think it's all that, I don't want to say wrong, but I don't think it's all that off or ill-advised for us to talk about Dillon not being here necessarily when the season starts, because I think there's a legitimate chance that's how it plays out. With that said, what does that mean for his future? Is there a world where he's still here, or where would he end up, and how would the Browns maybe get rid of him or move on from him? We'll talk about that coming up on the Locked On Browns podcast. What if sports were traded like markets? Well, now you can put your sports IQ to work in real time with Robinhood prediction markets. It's not you against the house. It's you participating in a live market. You can buy or sell your positions live all game long. Use your sports knowledge in the moments that matter. Robinhood prediction markets changes the game. It's people moving the action, so when momentum shifts, you can move with it. I always knew the game, but I never had a dynamic way to apply the knowledge. Now I can actually take part live in a market powered by the people. You're no longer just a spectator. Play by play, you decide from every trade play with Robinhood, now available across the U.S. Download the Robinhood app now to begin. Futures and cleared swaps trading involves significant risk and is not appropriate for everyone. Event contracts are offered by Robinhood Derivatives, LLC, a registered futures commission merchant and swap firm. This time of year where all you really want is something warm, easy, and satisfying. That's why Home Chef has become such a go-to. It takes the stress out of dining and makes it simple to actually enjoy cooking again. Home Chef makes cooking easy with fresh, pre-portioned ingredients, simple recipes, and meals that taste great. In my house, dinner is probably the hardest meal of the day. My wife isn't feeling certain things on certain days, or we simply run out of ideas and get tired of certain meals. But Home Chef offers 30 weekly options, including family-sized portions with different dietary choices. Meals are quick, from 30-minute recipes to oven-ready options when you don't want to think, and everything's portioned out ahead of time, so there's less prep and cleanup. It just makes dinner more manageable, even on the busiest of days. For a limited time, Home Chef is offering my listeners 50% off with free shipping on your first box, plus free dessert for life. That's right, for life. If you're a dessert fan like me, that's enticing. Go to homechef.com/LockedOnNFL. That's homechef.com/LockedOnNFL for 50% off your first box and free dessert for life. You must be an active subscriber to receive the free dessert. Don't forget about the Everydayer Club. It's your chance to get Locked On Browns ad-free, and also access to a members-only Discord channel where you can interact with me, interact with other hosts from around the network, talk some smack with some of the other shows. Whatever you want to do, the space is there for you on that Discord channel. Just go to lockedonbrowns.supercast.com to sign up and learn more, and we hope to make you part of the Everydayer Club. So we talked about Dillon Gabriel and why I think it's fair that he is kind of the forgotten man in the group, even though the Browns keep bringing his name up when they get a chance to, and I'm sure it'll come up again. Part of that is a lot of the questions that are directed at Monken or Barry or whatever are about Shador, are about Deshaun, and they're not so much about Dillon Gabriel. And so I think they try to squeeze him in where they can, and there's admiration in doing that and trying not to disparage anybody on your roster right now. But it just doesn't feel like it's this same group is going to stay the same and all be here next year in 2026. Of all the guys and what we know about Tom Monken's offense, he feels like the one that fits it the least. And understanding that was probably a Kevin Stefanski pick last year, I don't think it's that far-fetched to say he's not part of this unit when the 2026 season kicks off in mid-September. I think that's very reasonable to say. And so understanding that, the next legitimate question becomes like, okay, so what happens to Dillon Gabriel if he's the odd man out? Well, I don't think they're moving off of him anytime soon. And what I mean by that is like, he's here for the spring. I think he's here through veteran minicamp. Maybe I'm wrong, but I think that's probably how it plays out. And then I think he becomes the guy, which Andrew Berry's tried to do the last couple of years, that they try to move at training camp when you get close to roster cutdown day and you know he's not going to be on the roster, you think he's not going to be on the roster, you try to trade him for something. I don't know that you're going to get the same value you drafted him, like a third-round pick. I doubt that. But if you can get a sixth-round pick for him or a seventh-round pick for him, fine, you'll take it. It's some sort of draft capital return for a guy that isn't part of your future plans, most likely. And so I do think the trade route is the most logical. That feels like the avenue they would explore first. If there's nothing there, I guess you could cut him. The hardest thing to understand, though, is listen, that might have been a Kevin Stefanski pick. But we also know Andrew Berry isn't one to part ways with, his draft picks too soon, especially guys that were on day 1 or day 2 selected. And that's obviously where Dillon was selected. He was a day 2 guy. So there's going to be some dead money that comes with it. But I just have a hard time wrapping my head around a group that consists of only quarterbacks that were not in any way, shape, or form guys that Todd Monken had say in bringing in. If they draft a rookie, like if they were to draft Ty Simpson at some point, I think that absolutely means Dillon's out of the equation. Because I can't fathom a group that has 3 guys in it that are all under 1 year or less of tangible NFL experience, and then Deshaun, who's a big reclamation project at this point, given the state of things with him. So I just don't see how that's plausible. And like Deshaun's stuck here. You can't move off of Deshaun because the contract, Shador, as I laid out, is the better quarterback than Dillon. We saw that last year. So I maintain that it just feels like he's the odd man out, and Barry will look to trade him at training camp. I know we've talked a lot, or joked a lot, maybe is a better way to put it, about the Falcons being the destination for him because, they have, because Kevin Stefanski's there now. And I think that's, it's a fun theory for sure. But they just added Trevor Siemian the other day. So they only have 3 quarterbacks, so maybe there is room for a 4th, and it's Dillon if they were to actually take the bait on it and bite. But like they have Tua, they have Michael Penix Jr. Maybe that's better for Dillon if he could sit behind one of those guys. That's probably going to be a starter for them. But yeah, this has yet to play itself out, and I don't think we have to worry about it in the short term. I don't think he's getting moved before, the summertime. I don't think he's getting moved during OTAs. I think he probably is part of this competition for now, and then they'll look to trade him at training camp. Like he'll probably enter training camp as a guy on the roster, get some reps, whatever. They'll see what he can do, but they'll focus the attention on guys who have a legitimate chance of starting, which at this point feels like it's certainly going to be Shador and Deshaun, and then maybe another guy that they draft. And I just don't know where the reps are going to come for him. So he has to sort of be the guy that probably is, like if they draft a guy, they're clearly invested in that guy. So it's another reason why it just feels like the end is near at some point for Dillon Gabriel here in Cleveland. And so again, I think it's fair to assume he's going to be the guy that kind of gets the short straw, unless they add no other quarterbacks, which would certainly surprise me. And then I think the avenue you try is to trade him. And if you get nothing and you have to cut him, I guess that's the route you have to take. But I just feel that's kind of the path that I'm projecting out for Dillon Gabriel here in the months ahead as this quarterback situation sorts itself out and they eventually land on a starter for the team in 2026, whatever that looks like and whoever that may be. I think I lean Shador at this point. But again, yet to be determined, especially if they draft another guy. So if you like what you heard, hit that subscribe button. Make Locked On Browns your first listen every single day. Don't forget about the Everydayer Club. Your chance to get the show ad-free, just $5 a month. Just head to lockedonbrowns.supercast.com to sign up and learn more about getting the show ad-free on any audio platform of your choosing. Also, check out my friends at Locked On Cavs and Locked On Guardians. Thank you for being every day at the Locked On Podcast Network. I will catch you next time, Cleveland.